The Rake, the creature that watches in the dark story. Sarah had always been a light sleeper, waking up at the faintest sound. Living alone in her cozy house on the edge of a quiet forest had never bothered her before. But tonight felt different. Something was off. The air felt heavier, the silence almost unnatural. It was around 2 a.m. when Sarah's eyes fluttered open. She wasn't sure what woke her. A faint noise, maybe? She lay still, staring at the ceiling, listening to the stillness of the house. Then she heard it, a soft creak, like the weight of something moving across the old wooden floorboards. Her heart began to race. She rationalized it was probably the house settling, or maybe an animal outside. But deep down, she felt a growing unease. Pulling the blanket tighter around herself, she tried to calm her breathing. Minutes passed in silence until a new sound emerged. A low, guttural growl, faint but unmistakable. It wasn't a sound she had ever heard before. Not from any animal she knew. It was deep and wet, almost like a mix between a human moan and the snarl of a predator. Sarah froze. The sound seemed to come from outside her bedroom window. Turning her head slowly, she peered toward the source of the noise, her heart pounding like a drum. The moonlight streaming through the window faintly illuminated her room, but the shadows outside made it hard to see. And then she saw it. A pale figure crouched outside the window, its emaciated body twisted in a way that no human body should be. Its arms were unnaturally long, ending in sharp, claw-like fingers that scratched lightly at the glass. Its glowing yellow eyes locked onto hers, unblinking and predatory. Sarah couldn't breathe. She couldn't scream. She felt as though the creature's gaze had pinned her in place. As the seconds dragged on, the creature tilted its head as if studying her. Then it did something that made her blood run cold. It grinned. Its mouth stretched impossibly wide, revealing rows of jagged, sharp teeth. The scratching at the glass grew louder, almost deliberate, as if it was testing the barrier between them. Sarah's mind raced. Should she run? Should she scream? But her body wouldn't move, frozen in fear as the creature pressed its face closer to the glass. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. Sarah lay there trembling for what felt like an eternity. She couldn't bring herself to move until the first rays of sunlight crept into her room. When she finally mustered the courage to look at the window, she found deep claw marks etched into the frame. But that wasn't the worst part. On the wall near her bed, scratched into the paint as if by claws, was a single word: Rake. Over the following days, Sarah tried to convince herself it was a nightmare, but the evidence was undeniable. She cleaned the claw marks, but at night she swore she could hear faint scratching outside her window again. She started noticing strange things, a feeling of being watched, objects in her house moving slightly from their original positions, and distant growls in the middle of the night. She began researching what she had seen, and the results were horrifying. Stories about a creature called TheRake surfaced, a being described as pale and emaciated, with glowing eyes and razor-sharp claws. People who encountered it reported the same things: an overwhelming sense of dread, its ability to appear and vanish without a trace, and its chilling habit of watching its victims before striking. But what terrified Sarah the most was a pattern she discovered in the accounts. Everyone who had encountered the Rake described it as an omen. It wasn't just a creature, it was a warning. Many victims experienced misfortune or tragedy shortly after seeing it. Sarah's nights grew sleepless, each sound amplifying her paranoia. Days turned into weeks, and while she hadn't seen the creature again, she felt its presence everywhere. The feeling of being watched never left her, and every night she wondered if it would return. And then one night, it did. This time, the scratching was louder, more aggressive. When Sarah looked at the window, the Rake was there again, its yellow eyes glowing brighter than before. But this time, it wasn't alone. Shadows moved behind it, faint shapes shifting in the darkness. Before Sarah could react, the glass cracked under the pressure of its claws. Her scream finally broke free as the creature's grin widened, and the last thing she saw before blacking out was its hand reaching through the broken window. When Sarah woke up, it was morning. The window was intact as if nothing had happened. But on the wall beneath the previous Rake carving was a new message: it's not over. From that day forward, Sarah vanished from her home. Some say she moved away to escape the haunting presence. Others believe the rake came back for her. Her house still stands, empty and abandoned. Neighbors claim to hear scratching at the windows late at night, and a few swear they've seen glowing yellow eyes in the forest nearby. The rake doesn't forget, and it never truly leaves. Would you stay in a house where something like this happened? Or is this creature just a myth to scare us? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Fablescope for more chilling stories like this.